I'm not going to lie to you guys. This thing's getting pretty old.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. It's post-game Locked On Baylor, #1 Baylor football show on YouTube. Stop me if you've heard this one before. TCU beats Baylor 42-36. Although it's really not even worth reading out that score. That wasn't really the score of this one. It takes almost 6 hours, but the result is largely the same of what it's been the last decade. Baylor loses to TCU. They are now 4-3, and honestly, it's a lot of the same old story. The thing that's different about this game is Sawyer probably had maybe his worst game in a Baylor uniform. He had some stats at the end there and kind of keeps them in it in name only. But he did not have a good game, 25 of 52 and 3 picks. I think he threw another one at the end. I didn't see any of the 3 picks, much like most of you, because after lightning delay number 3 and just the pure torture of stringing out this game, then we go to watch it on the ESPN app after they've kicked us there, and we can't. I'm 2,000 miles away, and I was blacked out by the ESPN app. And I wish I was blacked out watching this game. So I have to follow the last 7 minutes, which had a bunch of scores, at least 3 scores and 3 interceptions on the StatCast. So I don't know. I didn't see Keaton Thomas's touchdown. What I know was what we saw before that, and that the game was pretty much decided at that point. It was I don't know. They were down 2 touchdowns. They're about to be down a third. It was 35-21. That's what it was. And they were about to knock on the door, and TCU scored right after. So just a brutal performance, man. I mean, Sawyer played the worst he's played. Michael Trigg, I don't even, at least only 1 drop on the StatCast. It seemed like much more than that. The rain was really only affecting one team. The defense stunk again. I don't know what we expect at this point. They can't force turnovers. They got one late in the game that nobody saw, but they can't force turnovers for a turnover-prone quarterback. It was just Baylor went up 7-0 and then gave up 21 in the second quarter, like 3 touchdowns given up in the second quarter. And by then the game is done. By then the game is over. It's done. So credit TCU, man. I mean, it was a heck of a job to limit Sawyer Robertson. I know there's some Baylor fans today who are, talking about how Sawyer's never actually been good, but clearly that was not the case going into this game. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He had an absolute stinker today. It happens. It's certainly not trying to take anything away from that. It was not a good game, and it was a big reason why Baylor lost this game. That TCU has not been able to run the ball all year. They were bottom 3 in running the football in the Big 12, and they ran all over Baylor today. They had 196 yards on the ground, which is what Bryson Washington had by himself against this team last year. And he goes 11 carries for 23 and a fumble as well as a touchdown. Obviously, I'll give Bryson some slack, man, in that we know that he is playing very much hurt right now. I'm guessing Michael Trigg is still banged up, and it looks like Sawyer Robertson might have been banged up today. But for a team coming off a bye week to put out that kind of performance is pathetic. It's pathetic, man. And again, I know Baylor takes the lead in this game. They take the lead 7-0 towards the end of the first quarter, but they were not sharp to start the game. Sawyer was not sharp to start the game, and I'm just wondering, like, how much prep time does this team need? How much prep time does Dave Aranda need to have his team ready for a game? This was 2 weeks, man. Oh, it can't come at a more perfect time. We're gonna get rested up. And I'm the idiot that's eating this up, that's buying it and telling you guys, I actually like Baylor off a bye week. Dave's pretty good off a bye week. They got the rest. They got the time to prepare for this. And they didn't, because they didn't come out with a bee under their bonnet again, under their blue bonnet, if you will. And it's just like every week it takes this team falling down by 2 or 3 touchdowns to wake up and play the game. And as I said after the Kansas State game, and I'll stick with this take, when that happens every single week, that isn't on the players. Clearly, this is the ultimate example. This is the ultimate example of it. Like, they make it a game all the time because the players are good. But if you're falling behind and you need your back up against the wall to know when to play every week, then that is on a coaching staff. And it's been the same thing for the last 4 seasons. Like Dave Aranda's 1-5 against TCU. And there's still fans who are going to be in this comment section, and they're going to say, well, you expect Baylor to do any better than that? Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, I think some coach can go better than 1-5 against their rivals. And I'll say this, I have a ton of respect for TCU's football program. I hate them. I don't like them. I think their fans are the worst, but I have respect for that program. They're usually pretty good. But if you look at the tenure of Dave Aranda's time at Baylor, they've canceled each other out. They've both had one great season, and the rest, TCU's just solid. They had one great season, but other than that, they're just solid. They're a good football program. And Dave Aranda can never beat them, ever. This is a problem, man. This is a problem. And it's not getting any easier over the next 2 weeks, by the way. It is not. We'll talk to that when we get to it. But to come out with this performance off a bye week, I just don't know how more glaring that gets. I don't get it. I know TCU has a pretty good offense, pretty good, top 40 in America. That's good, right? They average 35 a game. But you saw how out of sorts they were last week. And Kansas State, just all over them. That game was not as close as the 13-point score line and it ended up being. And Dave Aranda had 2 weeks to prepare for them. And they couldn't stop them. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't frustrate them at all. At all. There's only, I think, 2 defenses worse than the Power 4 right now in terms of EPA. We are talking about a guy who comes in as a defensive guy, and we are at the bottom of the barrel defensively. The bottom of the freaking barrel. It just... How do you justify this? How do you justify this? I said if he doesn't win 9 games this year, I'm just done. He needs to win out to win 9 games this year. So we're not done, but we're starting the car. I don't know how you guys not you guys, some people keep justifying this, because I know a lot of you listening right now are not in that camp, right? James Franklin's available. I'm just saying, I know he doesn't win the big game, but he wins 10 games a lot. Okay. So, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. It's pitiful to keep doing this, It was different this week in that your quarterback had a bad game, but other than that, it's the same crap every time. Your defense sucks. They gave up, they got him down to 6 yards a play. It was about 7.5 in the third quarter, 6.2 yards per play for TCU. Your defense sucks. You can't stop the run ever. You make little mistakes all the time. You're never ready to play, ever. And it's just the same stuff every time. And I'm seen as this negative Nancy because I've been underwhelmed by this team. Look at this, man. It's every week. When you face a real football team, they don't win. And they're good on 4th down, but 3rd down, they're atrocious. And then you go for it on every 4th down, and you're giving teams short fields all the time. All the time, man. 21 points in the second quarter, and the game's done at halftime. We've got 4.5 more hours of it, but it's over. It just ruined, it took all of our daylights away from us on this Saturday. It was just gone from 11 a.m. to 5, in some cases 12 to 6. This isn't fun, man. Where is the real hope? You know what I mean? And when I say that, I know what people are going to say. Cam, you talked to us the last couple of weeks about how good the recruiting classes are. And that's true. And Dave Aranda has done a good job with that recently. It was bad for a while. But Keenan Hall and Aaron Hunt, and Dallas Baker, those guys have done really well, right? They've recruited well. But Baylor's not handing out the checks that the SEC is and that some of the other bigger schools in Texas are. And if you're just going to keep going on like this, like these recruits aren't going to buy in. They're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, the person over player, they really care about us, and that's great, but I also want to win football games. That's why I work so hard to be a top, whatever recruit in America. That's why I work so hard to be a 4-star, 5-star guy. And if it's just going to happen like this every year, like, why are they going to want to stay? Why are they going to want to stay? I mean, right now, you have the most talented roster you've had since 2021, and they're barely floating over 500. Nobody goes to the games. Most of the fan base, I would say, at least half of it, wants the coach fired. Like, there's no buzz around this right now. If you can't win with this roster that you've got right now, when are you going to win? This is year 6. And I don't know, man. It's embarrassing. And honestly, the record versus TCU is the ultimate indicator of that. Again, TCU is a good program. They've been a good program for a long time. But we had one great year in that span. They had one great year in that span. And the rest of it was fairly even, and you cannot beat them. Like, that is indicative, man. That is really indicative. How are you supposed to compete in this conference year in, year out if you can't even beat the good teams, let alone the really good teams? It's just getting old. It's just getting old. That's how I started this. That is I don't even want to dive into the stats because it's irrelevant. We all watched it today. I just don't know how much longer we put up with this. When does it get fun? Last year it was fun for half a season, but we forget the first half of that season was definitively not freaking fun. It sucked, actually. And the year before that sucked. And the year before that sucked. And I'm being told we can't do better than that. We can't do better than just suck. And not have any fun with this thing. And not have real hope for this thing. Because now you're in this limbo, man. I mean, you're obviously out of the Big 12 title race. It was hanging by a thread going into this week anyway. Your quarterback's not winning the Heisman, which stinks. I know. This one bad week will probably sink his stock. I get it. And according to this administration, it's not bad enough to want to change. That's what it all comes down to, right? It's just everyone that supports, well, I shouldn't say everyone. Most of the people that support this team and are the lifeblood of this program thinks this isn't good enough and we need a change. But the people at the top do not think you need to change. They think this is fine. They think this is good. This is really good. This is not, it's just not fun, man. It's just not fun. Yeah. Cynical Bear is, I think, getting this perfectly for me. At least we're not the worst. Because that's what people will tell you. Oh, I remember 40 years ago when we were the worst team in college football. Yeah, I don't care about that anymore. You know who's very much in the playoff picture today? Freaking Vanderbilt is going to make the playoffs at this rate. They're 6-1. And I've got people telling me, oh, Baylor can't expect to be that. I know you're being sarcastic, cynical. I know you are. I'm rolling with this. I'm rolling with this because I know exactly what you're talking about. People will tell you that, right? Like, people tell you that. They tell me that all the time, that because we sucked in the 90s, that we can't expect more than this, to just hope to be 7-5 with this kind of talent. Like, again, you look at other teams, Big 12 teams in years past that have had this kind of talent that Baylor has right now, they're not going 6-6. They're going 9-3. They're going 10-2. And yet here we are. We're just supposed to be happy with that. We're supposed to be happy with that today. Oh, man. I feel for the players. I really do. I know some of you don't. I do. In college, this is not professional football. I mean, I guess it technically is. I guess it technically is, right? Wow, Charles Barkley in the chat. Charles Barkley in the chat. You think this is the real one? Fire Mac. I mean, I always say, like, I like Mac Rhodes more than a lot of Baylor fans do at this point. But he's hitched his wagon to Dave Aranda. Like, it's tough to defend that. You know what I mean? It's tough to defend that. He has hitched his wagon to Dave Aranda, and I think that's not a good thing right now. It's not a good thing. I don't even remember where I was going with that original point. But like, again, you know, people will tell you that because they used to suck that they can't compete. Meanwhile, like one of the 5 or 6 best teams in America is Texas freaking Tech. Vandy's there. They're going to be in the playoff. Indiana is number 3 in the country. And you're telling me Baylor can't be better than this? Baylor can't be better than 7-5? Baylor can't beat one good team a year? What are we doing, man? What are we doing? Just good enough to keep this experiment, and I do mean experiment, going. It's just not a fun time to be a Baylor fan right now, man. And it's just not very fun. And I really had to take a step back during the bye week and be like, you know what? We're 4-2. Is it underwhelming? Sure, but we're 4-2. And these things are ahead of us. And they could get hot like they did out of last year's bye. And they answered pretty swiftly that will not be happening. That will not be happening, and that my gut instinct was probably right. And a lot of you that join in the post games and comment on the post games were also probably right with your gut instinct. But I just, it's tough to, like, we'll be here every week, but it's tough to like feel the hope right now. It's going to be really tough to feel the hope. And thankfully, one of the 2 or 3 remaining home games is homecoming. So there will be a crowd for that, but for the most part, it's going to be a half empty stadium. If at that, you know, and that's a whole nother discussion as to whether you should still be supporting the players or not. But it's just, there's no buzz around this at all. There's no juice around this program right now at all, which is crazy to think, because week 1, I mean, I think we were in a really good spot in terms of excitement around this program. It was going to be a chip on their shoulder, us against the world. We're going to prove everybody wrong. And I think we really kind of got a heavy dose of what the season was going to be at that point. You know, couldn't stop a nosebleed for a team that, by the way, cannot put the ball in the end zone in Auburn. Like, it's just Big Bear 92. How about this? Thinks we can go out and get John Gruden. Loves coaching. I think he does want to coach again, but John Gruden, has he ever coached in college? We're pulling a guy off a bar stool to be our coach. I don't know, man. I don't know. Fun guy and everything, but I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that's the answer. But I will say, you know, some of you will be wondering, like, what is the kind of direction to go towards in terms of the kind of coach you're looking for? Because for me, I never mind bringing in a dynamite coordinator and seeing if they can be a head coach. I think that can be a risk worth taking. But you did that with Dave Aranda, and it did not work. It didn't work. He was one of the 3 or 4 best coordinators in the country when you went out and got him in 2020. But that didn't work. You went out and you got the program building head coach the time before, and that worked to some degree, but he was looking to get somewhere else the whole time because he's a builder. He's looking to get somewhere else the whole time, and Nebraska fans are about to find that out themselves. So where do you go? Like, what kind of coach are you looking for? Are you looking for something somewhat experimental like John Gruden? Are you looking for a program builder like G.J. Kinney or Jeff Traylor? Are you looking for the very rare candidate for Baylor, an established coach who has won at I would say high level, but he didn't win a conference championship. But like James Franklin won 10 games, a handful of times at Penn State. Like that's nothing to sneeze at. He didn't win the big games, but like Baylor ain't even near big games right now. So maybe that's the way to go. But yeah, I am definitely leaning towards like, how much longer are we going to do this Dave Aranda thing? How much longer are we going to do this? It's doing nothing for me. I could tell it's not doing a lot for most of you fans, but it's just crazy that we're just stuck in this. We're just spinning wheels. And to a lot of Baylor, it's just not a problem. And I in a moment of honesty here, because I got to close this out in a minute. It's kind of indicative of Baylor and Baylor athletics right now. And I almost bite my tongue to say it, but it's just not. I don't know if it's embracing athletics the way it used to, and embracing that kind of fan culture the way that it used to, and that we're just so obsessed with how everybody else talks about us rather than just being a good athletic program and winning football games. And I just that's just my take on it. Like, we're so worried about how the rest of the country views Baylor and getting Baylor and more, into more living rooms and with more eyeballs on it, and how we treat the parents and all this and this and that. And I get it, but it feels like one of the casualties of that is the fan culture on this campus, and amongst the alums, and having an us against the world kind of mentality, and trying to win football games and basketball games, and dare I even say baseball games. It just feels lifeless right now. And that sucks. Because again, I don't even know if I don't think it's the players. I think that's how college works. But yeah, I'm not feeling too great about the rest of this season, y'all. I wish I was, and maybe I'll change a little bit by Monday, but like, it's not getting any easier. Cincinnati might be better than TCU. You got them on the road next week. You've got Utah after that. You think Utah isn't a good team? They're a good team, man. They could eat you alive, Utah. We haven't even faced, again, we went over it last week. You got 4 top 30 defenses to face this year, and this wasn't even one of them, and that's a loss already. L, again. This could get kind of ugly here, folks. You still got to win 2 more games to make it to a bowl, and I think 7 games in, we still have some major questions about this team. But yeah, this is where, again, I feel I put the 9-win ultimatum out there, and I got to stick to that. But this is one of those games where I'm like, where's the pros of Dave Aranda right now? What is if we're doing a pros and cons list, where's the pro of Dave Aranda right now? The recruiting class is good, but I think there's 2 things about that. First, if you continue to lose, there's complete fan apathy here. If you continue that way, then they're not going to want to come here anyway. And the second part of it is, if you brought in James Franklin, for example, guy who's won a ton, it was a terrific recruiter at Penn State, or someone like a G.J. Kinney, young, exciting, good recruiter at Texas State, like, who's to say you don't keep some of those recruits? Who's to say you don't get other big-time recruits to come to play there? Who's to say there's not some guys who are going to play at Penn State if you brought James Franklin in and now want to play at Baylor? They're best guys that were going to play at Penn State? Probably not. But like, that's the thing. We just think if you get a new coach in here, nobody else is going to want to come. And I just don't believe that. But this has to stop, man. 2 weeks to prepare for this. And this is how they came out. This is how they performed against their biggest rival. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, man. And that's not on the players. It's not on the players, because when you continue to fight like hell after you fall behind and make games out of it every week, to me, that shows you have the talent to win. You just don't have the game plan to win. You don't have the guy at the top to win. And we're seeing that play out week after week. Baylor hasn't even faced, it's crazy to say because of how we looked at it in the preseason, but Baylor's not faced the brunt of their schedule yet. It's coming up right now. So there's a lot to work on, and it does feel like a wasted season with the amount of talent you brought back. And it makes me look pretty stupid, but that's the least of our problems right now. Anyway, guys, this is a good thing to have, good problem to have, but there were so many of you in the comment section, I couldn't get to a lot of the comments. So I really appreciate you guys letting me know your thoughts. Continue to drop them in the comment section below. Just how you feel about this. Like, I know where a lot of these comments are going to go, but I'm having trouble finding hope right now. That's why we do it right after the game ends, because it's going to be raw and emotional, but I'm just not seeing where the hope comes from for this year. And whatever hope there is for next year, there's a ton of change to come in terms of personnel next year, whether you fire the coach or not. But it feels like Baylor football is just spinning wheels and is okay with that. It's just okay with just participating, being one of the teams of all time, and collecting a nice new Big 12 check every year. Feels like that's what they're okay with. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Am I being too hard on this team? Let me know in the comment section. Please do me a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, because it helps us out a lot, and it's completely free. We're on the path towards 5,000 subscribers, which is a heck of a thing for us, and it's why we're the #1 Baylor football show on YouTube. I appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day. We'll, of course, go at this from all angles throughout the week and get you prepared for Cincinnati, which at this rate looks like it could be ugly. So help us out, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Locked On Baylor, and follow us here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts throughout the week. We will see you on Monday. We'll hear from Dave Aranda on that day, so you won't want to miss that, on the next edition of your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.